Hey everyone, Denise here. Of course, the heat just kicked on, so we'll have to deal with that noise. I have finished the layouts from the cutting guide number 1 that I have posted previously. So this is kind of part 2 so that you can get an idea. Now, this is in no way meant to be for you to just, like copy. You can, but they're really more for ideas. So, I have hearts here just because hearts were easy to cut on the Cricut. I actually pulled out my Cricut. I was kind of impressed with myself. And they were just easy, and they go with Anna. I didn't put a title because these are just samples. So I just put things in places where I would put embellishments. I would probably cluster some embellishments, but I didn't do that here because you're gonna do what you wanna do and what fits your layout and the papers you've chosen. So I do wanna tell you a few things though about it. So I did trim these 2 pictures because this paper I think I cut wrong. I cut to the wrong size. But I did cut these pictures down. These are 4x6 photos. And I cut them maybe a 1/4 inch on the top, a 1/4 inch on the side. Not much at all. In fact, I didn't even really measure. I just cut, and it just happened that it worked out that they were even the first time around. So I would say just a little 1/4. That way I had more space between them because I wanted some more orange there than I saw. These here, I believe were 3x3. Yep, they are 3x3. So I did those and I just spaced them out. I didn't have to trim them further than that. They were 4x6 photos. I did trim them. When I print my pictures, I sometimes crop them so that I have, the large image in the picture. And when I take pictures, I also deliberately take some that aren't as close up so that I have this. If I want to print it out as a 4x6, that's fine, or 4x4, whatever. If I can print it as a 3x3, I just don't want a bunch of the picture like Anna being cut off in this particular case. So I always tend to stay back a little bit with some photos, and then I'll take some that are closer up just so that I can crop them. I don't always do 4x6 pictures. I do a lot of different sizes. And I did all my samples with Anna because I printed a whole bunch of her pictures to do this with. So that's just why Anna doesn't match fall. Don't worry about it. Your paper isn't about the fall probably. So it's just so you could see picture placement. So we have 2 4x6s trimmed just slightly, 3 3x3s. This heart, just so you have an idea, if you're looking for size of embellishments, this heart from top to bottom, 2.5 inches. Now across it's obviously more. It's gonna be 3 inches across. And I would do 2 smaller maybe as I was clustering them. For the title here, I just put title twice. You could do a few things, I was thinking about. I could have put a box over this and made a title box or a journal box, but I didn't want to cover this. I like the paper. And you may find that as well. If you want to cover the paper, this is a great place to do it. This is a great place to do it. But if you want to see the paper that you've chosen, put a title here. It obviously can be a very long title. It can be a repeating title, or you can use this for different words. Like in this case, it's Anna, right? I can put, start here or start here. Like sassy, adorable, playful, cunning, because that's definitely her, in charge, whatever the case may be. And I could just do smaller across. Now, because this was 1 inch, these letters are 3/4 of an inch. I know they're crooked, but it's okay. It's a sample. And I just cut them on the Cricut. And I did use coordinating cardstock from Stampin' Up! Because this designer paper was Stampin' Up! And this was my neutral. And I did all of the other ones you'll see in a neutral photo mats. Because if you look at the layouts as they were in the first video and now, the brown kind of brings it together. And that's always really what a good neutral does. So that's what I did for this. You can put your title really anywhere. You can even put it across this way. But I thought that it looked nice in a darker neutral here across, whether it was a very long title or a short one. Maybe I'm doing a 3rd cluster here. I felt like I had my rule of 3 though. I had here, I had a title here, and then I have this here. If you wanted to do a 3rd down here because you've got the 3s, or if you want to do up here, down here, over here, however it works best for you. So that is what I did with the first layout, and I hope that that helps you. So now let's look at the second one. So this was the second layout, and these are 5x7 photos. You can use any size you want. I like bigger photos. That's what I had, so that's what I was using. So here again, I would cluster a bunch of whatever my embellishment is. And you can have different things that you're doing. It could be tags, it could be banners, it could be hearts, it could be circles, it could be overlapping different ephemera because you've got an ephemera pack for a page kit that you bought. Whatever the case may be. This is just where I would place mine on these. These pictures are 5x7. I did add the mat here. So I would recommend that if you're looking at matting your photos, and I felt, especially with the color of my floor and the brown she was playing in, I felt that the pictures got totally washed out and lost without a photo mat. So again, back to the dark neutral. I did open a pack of 8.5 by 11 of the early espresso for this. If you have 12 by 12, a 12 by 12 pack for the dark that goes with whatever paper you've chosen, great. I tend to use the 8.5 by 11 for these things because it's easier, it's cheaper, it's easier for me to store, and I'm gonna go through it. The 12 by 12 easier on the Cricut for sure. That definitely makes a difference. But it really doesn't matter, it's just a little bit of extra time. So these photo mats are, as I recall, 5.5 by 7.5, both of them. This heart is, I think, 3 inches. Yep, 3 inches from point to point and 4 inches across at the widest part up top. Same, this heart is exactly the same. And my title, I would make my title bigger. I just didn't make the word bigger, but I would make my title bigger. Now, I could also put my title here, split it, put it here, and put it over here. I could move my picture up and I could put the title down here. I just like that it was off center from each other. You could add it down here. You could do whatever you want with the photos. But again, I've got my 3. I have an area here. And again, I would cluster. I have an area here. 1, 2, my title up here is 3. If you like your law of 3s to be embellishments, then you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, however it works for you. And you can just make them different sizes. I'm only telling you the sizes I use because people tend to ask, especially if you're like me and you like to copy exactly. But a 3-inch circle may or may not work here. It may not be big enough. It may be too big. Maybe you're choosing a 4x6 photo instead. So do with it what works for you. But that's what I did for this to finish it up. And if I did the cluster of hearts on any of these layouts, I would pull from the colors. I would do the yellow that we used. I would definitely do the orange, the crushed curry, I think that Cajun craze. Those are the Stampin' Up colors. I pulled in the brown. I could use gold because I have gold in this paper. Really, any color that I see here that I like, I can just pull from. So I would use different colors for it. Not necessarily just these colors, but it would really depend. All right, and then we had our third layout. Our third layout, by this time I got the font to work because, of course, there was a Cricut update. So I open up the Cricut twice a year, maybe. I do Christmas t-shirts, and then I cut titles once in a while. So every time I open it, the thing has 4,000 updates. But I had just opened it a few weeks ago. And of course, I should have known there would be an update. So by the time I finally got a thicker word, it was by the 3rd try. So that's why it stands out a little bit more than the other ones had. So on this one, I matted in my dark neutral. For me, it was the early espresso. I have my title over here. You could easily put it over here this way or this. If you have several words, of course, you'll span that area. I could put a journal box down here instead of the heart. I could put a journal box over here instead of the heart. But for me, my title counts as in my law of 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, and I'm good with it. So these pictures are, this one is 4x4. And the mat, as I recall, is 4 1/4. Yep, 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. These 3 pictures are 3.5 by 5. So I had 4 by 6. I just cut them down. So the mat, I'm just checking to make sure, is 5 1/4, right? By 3 3/4, because it's 3 1/2 by 5. So the mats are just a 1/4 inch larger. So photos, 3 by 5, mats. No, not 3 by 5, 3 1/2. Sorry, 3 1/2, 3 1/2 by 5. My fault. 3 1/2 by 5 for these photos, which means the mat is 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. Yep, see, that's why I have the ruler. Okay, so it's, again, the mat is only going to be a 1/4 of an inch bigger because I don't necessarily like a big, huge mat unless, it's a solo picture on a page. So one more time, because I screwed up a bunch of times, these 3 photos, 3 1/2 by 5, they're vertical, and the mats are a 1/4 inch larger. These 2 here, I'm going to measure again to make sure. Yep, these pictures are 3 1/2. Because this is 3 1/2 wide, these are 3 1/2. So these are square, 3 1/2 by 3 1/2, 1, 2. And the photo mats for those are 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, both of those there. This heart up here is 2 1/2 inches from point to point. I know the rule's up backwards, I think you can see it. And it's about 3 1/4 across. So that, if you're doing, let's just say a circle, a square, or whatever, you can see how large that would be across so that you get an idea. This one over here I made smaller. This is 2 1/4 from point to point, and across it is just shy of 3 inches. And then my title I have a bunch of space for, and you may move this over so that you have more room, but this is how I completed them. So again, I would cluster the hearts, no doubt. I don't have to, but I probably would, and I would bring in the other colors from here. I do have the yellow on here from the plaid. On here, it looks like I have some beige. So if I had beige on the back of one of my pages, which I think I do, I could use the back of one of my scraps, because that's always good for this. I could use my scraps for the title if I wanted it to match and I didn't want it just in a neutral color. I have the beige here. I was looking to see if I had, obviously the gold. I don't really see any green in this, but again, I'd pull different colors in just to keep it interesting, because otherwise the brown on brown just gets lost. Same with any other color. So that's it. These are our 3 then from our sketch number 1. So we've got one layout here, multiple photos. We've got oh no, that's backwards. We've got, there we go. So this was layout number 2 for us. Not 2 nice big photos, but again, you can switch it. You can do 4 by 6, whatever size you want that works for you. And we have our first layout that we did. So there we go. That's our cutting guide number 1. I hope you played along. Please be sure that you post pictures. Let me know how it worked out for you. And as always, let me know if you have any questions. Happy crafting, everyone. See you next time. I hope you'll join us again.